When you hear this sound, you know you are in Germany. In many countries, this behavior is considered rude and disgusting. Now, imagine a German exchange student who's applying for an apartment in France, an internship in Japan, or is on a date in Turkey. When you travel to another country, you can unconsciously do something that will irritate or upset people. But this video is not about Germans making it abroad. It's about foreign students making it in Germany. Let's discover what you can do wrong in Germany that may put you in an awkward position. This country holds many surprises. If you're sensitive, you've got to be careful where you go. You may be taking a Sunday walk around a lake only to encounter naked people. Germans love being naked. Naturism or nudism is part of the culture. In fact, this is a map with all areas in Germany that allow you to walk around naked. I put the link in the description in case you want to try it out for yourself. For foreigners, it's often shocking that saunas are generally unisex, and you must be naked. Bathing clothes are absolute taboo. Here it's less about being naked than about hygiene. At least you may cover yourself up with a towel. You will discover other behaviors that you may find odd. Germans never cross the street at a red light, even in heavy rain. Rules are rules, and there could always be a child watching you. What a bad example you'd be setting. Get used to taking your empty bottles to the supermarket for recycling. Get a degree in sorting trash. Get used to full stores on Saturdays, because on Sunday everything is closed. Okay, those things and the naked people you get used to with time. There are more serious problems you can have with your behavior in college and on the job. Let's start with social life. One of the first things you do in Germany is move into an apartment. In some cultures, it's common to put your garbage, shoes, and other stuff in the hallway. In Germany, this is mostly forbidden, and don't wonder if you get a letter of complaint in your mailbox. Yes, your neighbors won't tell you directly. They will file a complaint and you'll get a letter from property management. While we're at it, check your mailbox. Germany is a few centuries behind when it comes to digital communication. Back to the garbage in the hallway. The problem isn't so much that your neighbors are disturbed by that. German law is very strict when it comes to fire protection. Stuff in the hallway may catch fire, or you wake up in the middle of the night due to a fire alarm and trip. Hallways must be free of stuff. Something else about living in an apartment. Don't make any noise between 1 and 3 p.m. if you want to avoid another complaint. It's siesta and people sleep. If you still have any German friends left after this and you go out to dinner, no one expects you to pay for everyone. It's common tradition that everyone pays for themselves. Waiters know that, and they will mostly ask if you want to pay together or separately. When you clink glasses, look that person in the eyes. Otherwise, they will have bad sex for 7 years. No one wants that. Let's talk about behavior in college. Some basics first. Instead of applauding after a lecture, in Germany it's common to knock on the table. In German you address a professor as Professor or Professorin and anyone else with Herr or Frau. If anyone offers you to address them with their first name, you continue using their first name. The main way of communicating online is via email. Germans care about proper email etiquette. You want to leave a good impression with one of your professors because you're hoping to get a student job. Please make sure to write full emails without errors and not short messages. Many foreign students struggle with the fact that the German academic system expects students to be very independent. Read emails and all regulations carefully. People expect that. If you made a mistake or missed information, don't demand from administrators to fix things for you. Propose solutions and work with them. When it comes to classwork, tasks are often fuzzier and don't have straightforward solutions. For example, I asked my students to build a robot for a space rover competition from scratch. It can be extremely confusing to face real-world problems at first, but the learning curve is steep. I find that shy students have a hard time in Germany. Professors expect you to come forward to ask for advice or talk about a problem. I know this is a big hurdle for many students. There are students that have a problem with looking a professor in the eyes. In their culture, they are taught to respect their elders by looking down. Some students avoid talking about problems because they don't want to lose face. Some try to solve everything on their own to prove to themselves that they are independent. In conclusion, foreign students often wait to address a problem until the very last minute when it's almost too late. You may encounter Germans that have little understanding and little tolerance for that behavior. Don't contact professors and administrators on apps like WhatsApp, unless of course you're facing an emergency. Having questions about an assignment one day before the deadline is not an emergency, by the way. People prefer a separation of professional and private life. Compared to other nations, Germans Germans use social media significantly less. Most people in my environment don't use social media actively, and some don't even have accounts. How about etiquette on the job? You know already that planning and punctuality are highly valued in Germany. People prefer that you make appointments in advance to discuss something. Avoid discussing bigger topics spontaneously unless it's very urgent. If you have a discussion, try to back your arguments with facts and numbers. Generally, people don't show much emotion in the workplace. This can be good and bad. Anyway, don't expect too many compliments from your supervisors. Especially, don't expect hugs. In Germany, you shake hands and that's it. You want to avoid situations like this one between George Bush and Angela Merkel. Many people close their doors. That doesn't mean they don't want to see anyone. They simply prefer silence. Gently knock on the door and they will ask you to enter. In general, you will find that many Germans prefer written communication and they express themselves as clearly as possible. You may get lots of detailed emails including reference lists. This can be hard for people who prefer oral communication. You don't have to answer with an email, but people expect that you've at least read their email. On birthdays, it's tradition that you bring a cake to work. Start working on your baking skills. By the way, Germans don't like to waste food and energy. Make sure to turn off the lights and your computer when you leave the workplace. Of course, everything I talk about here are just stereotypes. I don't mean to offend anyone. You will encounter every single point I mentioned in your daily life in Germany, but you will also meet many Germans who act the complete opposite. It's everyone's responsibility to be sensitive and tolerant about cultural differences. If you find yourself in an awkward situation, gently ask what's wrong. I'm very curious to hear about your most awkward situation in Germany. Please share it in the comments. Stay safe and see you soon.